into the straight and buffering a length and a half on Tiger Tease. And thank God you're here in Atomic Force getting clear. Buffering, he's hanging tough. He's getting a little tired. Thank God you're here. He's ready to rip, bursting through. Buffering's hanging on near the line though. And Buffering's got in a neck to ready to rip. Third, probably.
Yeah, you would love to have him in your backyard. I reckon he got into the barriers there on Friday. Didn't see Black Caviar, didn't see Haylist, and said, "Oh, hello, what's going on here?"
Yes.
What about his return? He cost $22,000.
Yep. What's he got back?
He's won $1.9 million. I was speaking to one of his owners, Craig Moore, and he said just every time he runs around, a month and a half later, 10, 15,000 just arrives.
He's obviously battling too, Craig Moore too.
Yeah.
So.
His Rangers
it's fantastic. That's the beauty of horse racing.
Indeed.
Hopefully, you just don't end up on the other end and pay $1.9 million for a horse and end up with $22,000.
Ken's regards. Ken's regards.
I remember I had an argument with a breeding bloke about that and how much wasted money. Almost came to blows in the Ivy. He would have ended up in the pool upside down.
That's right. Yeah, I remember that famous night. It was after Slipper night, wasn't it, Russell?
Exactly.
Our Maze Cove was big. Cost about $6,000. Our
Rusty got a bit fired up.
1 point something.
There's something that's been brought about through discussions as the Saturday afternoon punting continues. Following the money. Now, you blokes are at the track and you've obviously got all of the flux in front of you. When a horse top flux and SP's firming, do you just follow in? And now, we've only picked the eyes out of it, and there could have been 4 in each race. But if you have a look at that, you've had 3 winners on the Saturday, and you'd probably say, well, I'd cop 3 winners. You might have lost a bit of money there, but you'd cop 3 winners. Following the money, yay or nay? Yes,
I'm a big fan of following the money ever since I started going to the races. It was something that always attracted me, looking up at the big betting fluctuations at the board in the betting ring, or if you're just on a monitor. And even if still now, if I haven't sort of done too much form on a race and I'm just watching and I want to have a bet, I'm just keen to have a bet, I'll look at the firmers and then go from there. So, no, I'm certainly a big fan. Because where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, that's firming for a reason.
Well, it was a bushfire on Sunday. If there's smoke, there's fire. Have a look at these ones. Star of Giselle, top flux 650 into 5. Epaulette late. Moment of Change, the big one. Miss Marks and Callanish was a big go to wrap it up. And if you add those up, Quinny, no way you'd lose on the day if you followed those, even if there was 3 in every race.
It's a tricky one, though, because it does contradict the theory that we've always touched on, that you've got to back your own judgment. And if you like something, you sort of ignore the betting drift if it does drift and still back it. But having said that, if you are confident on something and you have a bet and then you see that it does firm, it does give you a little bit more confidence. And as Brent said, if you haven't done the form or you don't have a firm opinion but you want to have a bet, there's a lot worse things you can do than follow the money.
Yeah, I mean, you ignore everybody's opinion on a racetrack. You're the only person who ignores tips, ignores mail and ignores bunting, because you are the first person to back yourself on the race. I think it's a quality. I didn't say admirable, but it's a quality. You are stubborn on your own thoughts on a racetrack, aren't you?
Well, I like to do my own form, but I'll follow Brendan there. I'm massively respectful for the money. And the thing about this, what punters have got to realise, is there's so much, let's say, influential fixed odds money comes through the week that it could be a whole new world when you get to race day. I see more and more punters go top fluck on race day and doing it very nicely. But the money, what does money do, Russ? What does it do?
Goes round and round.
No, what does it do?
Talks.
Thank you.
There we go.
There you go.
And on Friday night...
Segment done.
Yibbida, yibbida, yibbida. That's
Yes,
what it was
have we
doing.
got?
Tokugawa, 280 into 250. Snitsum, 220, but earlier in the day was 260.
Yeah, well, buffering was the big one. They bet as much as
320.
Yeah, 340. So that's absolutely, that is finding money in the street if you've got 340 on buffering.
Was, look, it was $1.20, but with the scratching of Philippi, you're probably thinking $1.10. And B and Mick, there's the blast out in the last. 26 into 21, because they're the ones that you've got to keep a sneaky look at as well. You only look at the favourites, you forget the outsiders.
No, certainly, I couldn't agree more.
Did anyone, just quickly, you didn't mention the ripping return first up from Ready to Rip behind buffering?
I mentioned
What
it.
a run.
It was a very, very big run, but,
Terrific run.
still...
Almost as good as Tiger Tease was quite flat.
Okay. One thing that is going to be good is the International Raiders. They've arrived, courtesy of Singapore Airlines, the big bus. How many of them are on this plane? 16. And there's more to come.
More to come, that's right. So there's every possibility the Melbourne Cup winners currently would have been on that plane. 16 of them, all with outstanding overseas credentials.
Tell you what,
once again, hard to beat.
Just take me through this. They're in there, and are the sort of handlers allowed to be in with them, or is they're in a
No, I think
They're in a seat up the front, or how's it all work?
No, I think they have a handler and I think a vet as well with them throughout the trip. And it was a 40-hour trip from London. They went to Amsterdam, Sharjah. They come into Singapore and then on to Sydney. It's certainly a long haul.
Is that the Mount?
I couldn't tell you who is who.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's 16 horses to check the brandings and marches.
Just say yes with confidence. No one's going to argue with you.
And now
Yes,
this is a fabulous little setup. There's 2 versions of Werribee, and there's a little area for the journos to go and watch that. But there's one guy out there who owns the coffee cart, and he calls one cart Americane and the other cart is called Dunedin, because he got the heads up both years that these horses were out here to win. And he said he had one year he had Collingwood into Americane and Geelong into Dunedin. So he's
all over it.
He's
And he's
all
on
over it.
Brigantin
Nice
this
cup
year.
of coffee.
I don't know who he's on.
Thank you.
But
Great pictures, aren't they?
well, the
Terrific.
Werribee Centre's now sponsored. That's how big it's become. And what they do is all of the horses have their own name tag saddle cloth, so you can get a bit of an idea. It's a walk across to the Werribee circuit. And
But 16 highly credentialed horses all arriving at once. That just tells you how revolutionary this Melbourne Cup is now.
well,
right
let's
around
have
the
a look.
globe.
I'm going to give you some
Great
stats
stuff.
before we go to the international runners. I'm going to give you some stats.
And you love a stat.
I love a stat about the Melbourne Cup.
Yep.
And obviously the key ones for me is that last year 9 out of the top 10 horses in the Cup finished in, the first 7 runners past the post, all overseas.
Yep.
9 out of the top 10, that should be post overseas horses, because I think Lucas Cranach was one of those iffy butts and Niwot was the other one. And in 2010, 6 out of the top 10 past the post were trained overseas. Shocking, the last local to win, and this is the big one. No horse in the last 5 years has carried more than 54.5. You surprised by that?
No, not really, because you find these international horses, the progressive ones that come here with a low handicap and rise once they get to Australia, the ones that are right in contention. History shows you the ones with the big weights certainly haven't been in the mix.
Well, here's the odds for this year, and we're going to give you an idea of the runners. Mount Athos, Red Cadeau, of course, ran second last year. Tac de Boistron. Is that how I say it?
Very well
Close
done.
enough.
Americane, Brigantin, you're all over that, boys.
It's a value.
Dunedin, $21 of backing up is big value now that
No, it's had a lot of setbacks, pass from Lord.
Galileo's Choice,
No.
Jackleberry,
No.
Fiorenti, that's
Big
now
money.
Gay, isn't it? That's the one that Gay
Yes.
before.
Yes. 36 down to
Now,
26.
it stays in quarantine though, or does it go up?
It hasn't arrived yet. I don't
Right,
think
but it'll stay in quarantine. Won't go out of Flemington. It'll stay.
No, yeah, they have to stay in quarantine.
My Quest for Peace, which has had a name change, Cavalryman, Gatewood, Ibenko, that'll do. Lost in the Moment, and Sapphire.
Lost in the moment. Sneaky little chance. If
Now
it
here's
gets
the
a run.
weights. This is the other one. So according to the stats, you can knock off Cavalryman and upwards, and only do Mount Athos 54, Fiorente, My Quest for Peace, Galileo's, Tac de Boistron, and Brigantin. You're all keen on it.
Yeah, but
Anything
it's
else?
whether it gets a run. That's the interesting thing now. You've got to start
53
to look
gets
at
a run.
You got to start to look at the order of entry, not just the weights, because there's a long list of horses that are sort of already qualified, Australian local horses that have won derbies and Oakses and whatnot, races like that get you into the Melbourne Cup. So
There's the attrition rate too, though. They
there
fall
is.
away.
Yeah.
They certainly do. And,
Where do they go? The Caulfield Cup's going to be. Some of them's going to have to go there. Some will have to go to
Geelong.
The Geelong Cup. Is there any other qualifying races that these? Because they don't like running them back, backing them up 3 days later.
You could
so
go to the
can rule out-
Mooney Valley Cup was a race that Americane used last year to go into the Melbourne Cup. So
Yep.
But you don't get a penalty for that, though.
No, I know that, but if they just need a run to get them fit to go
absolutely.
forward.
Oh, okay. So you don't get a penalty.
No,
for the Mooney Valley
and that's
Cup?
why Americane will more than likely head to the Mooney Valley Cup again as opposed to
Well,
the
it
Caulfield
doesn't
Cup.
need to. But the bottom ones.
But if
who
he
need-
won the Caulfield Cup, he'd get a weight penalty for the Melbourne Cup.
pick the eyes out of it. Who do you like and what price?
I like Tac de Boistron and Brigantin just because they're the nice, progressive French types that have fitted the mould of the past few winners.
You?
I've backed Brigantin at big odds at around 100 to 1, but only just.
Oh, Brandy boy.
Bit of spruiking
Yeah,
too.
no, well,
no
it was
who to
only,
snip.
No, it was only because of people saying this horse is coming here and whatnot, so I had something little on there, but it probably ends its chances. But I honestly don't know too much about the horse. I was only following in some smart judges, and I'm happy that I'm on it now.
Did you see it super run in France?
Yeah.
Fast finishing.
I love this horse.
Oh yeah, France. I'm watching France all the time.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm with Russ. I'll wait until I see it here, but yeah, I've got no firm opinion at this
I
stage.
tell you, when you go there, they all look like superstars. I saw American Dunedin last year. I'm going, oh, how good are you blokes? Just run 1-2, and you don't even know about Red Cadeau. He's on the other side of the Werribee quarantine centre. Who do you find?
I'm Brigannon as well. Haven't got that sort of a price. Wish I did, but I think I stormed at about 26. I've got Talkin Thru Your Kick, I've already backed. I think Lost in the Moment's a chance at odds if it gets a run.
Surid bin Surah.
Yeah, and I will be on. I think Americane maybe could carry the weight and win. So I've backed it at a big price too.
So, and me, just for the record, I'm on Quest for Peace, or my Quest for Peace. So I just think that if they bring 3 or 4, these blokes from overseas, and Luca's bringing a couple, they'll talk about one, and there's always one sneaky out wide that the boys look after. Anything in Australia? What's the Australians' best chance? And I'm talking either an overseas horse now trained in Australia,
Linton,
like
Mudra.
Westchester or something like that.
Linton or Mudra.
Doesn't it give you a renewed appreciation for Mighty Makybe Diva and what she did when you look at those stats as well to see the weights? I think Lloyd Williams is probably Australia's best chance of keeping the Cup local.
Okay, well,
With
Moraine, maybe?
Tanby?
Scratch on the
Tanby?
Yeah, I'm not sacking
well,
Tanby.
you've got the Melbourne Cup finish behind you there, boys, and we'll see a replay in a second or two. But as we go to the break, just a reminder of what is happening this weekend at Flemington. It is Melbourne Cup Carnival Preview Day, and what a day they have in store. Presented by Yellow Glen. Go to melbournecup.com for all of the details, of course. Every race on the card is a listed or a group race. Now, to get in, $30 a ticket, but the new season pass, and Quinny, you're a big fan of this, admission to all VRC race meetings over the next year, including all 4 days of the Melbourne Cup, for only $200. If you go to all 4 days of the Melbourne Cup, there's your $200 already done and dusted. Value more than $560. And there's a new Schweppes Flemington Fling Bar grand opening. And this is along the same lines as the Mint Julep at Kentucky Derby and the Pims at Ascot. At Flemington, we drink the Schweppes Flims. It's the first ever signature drink. And we'll be having a couple of dozen while we're down there for the Cup Carnivals.
What a social statement.
Speaking of experience, those mint juleps of the Kentucky Derby are outstanding.
So too, the Flemington Fling. As we go to a break, let's relive a bit of Melbourne Cup moments from last year and a brilliant win by Dunedin, albeit only just.
Precedence hit the lead, but Managar challenges strongly. Lucas Cranach, and getting up on the inside, Lost in the Moment with a challenge. Here's Red Cadeau starting to flash home on the outside now. Lucas Cranach hit the lead. Red Cadeau coming down the outside. Dunedin is coming through in the middle. Dunedin, Red Cadeau, and Lucas Cranach. Dunedin is coming hard. Dunedin, Red Cadeau. Dunedin and Red Cadeau, they hit the line. A photo finish between Dunedin and Red